This is the jar of names. It's how we do a shout out. This week we thank Captain RH.
And if you want to get your name in that jar of names, all you have to do is keep commenting on these videos, and if you can tell what film we have referenced in this episode, then please let us know in the comments below. We are continuing the month of the cookie, where my younger sister, PurpleCookies, joined me for a month's worth of videos in August. For this quarter, we needed to do another baking video, and someone told me, PurpleCookies, it was you that told me, that you, apart from cookies, like to make brownies. So would you like to try baking some brownies?
Yes, please.
The recipe we're going to be following today is from allrecipes.co.uk, and we're going to give it a try and see how well it shapes up. Just a forewarning though, remember that this is a try baking something, so if you want to follow this recipe, don't. You'll find out why later.
Here's what you'll need.
400 grams of caster sugar.
225 grams of butter, melted.
60 grams of cocoa powder.
1 teaspoon of vanilla extract.
4 eggs.
225 grams of plain flour.
Half a teaspoon of baking powder.
And half a teaspoon of salt.
But we're going to be using just a little bit less salt than that. Step 1, PurpleCookies, if you would like to add the caster sugar, the melted butter, the cocoa powder, the vanilla extract, but if you can just add 2 of those because that's a quarter of a tablespoon and we need a half a tablespoon, 4 eggs, the flour, the baking powder, and then the salt, but I think we should do a little bit less than what the recipe says. Now we just need to mix it. Do you want to go first or do you want me to?
You can do it.
Alright, I'll start it off then and then you can do it after. Now with a little bit of butter, we're going to grease the baking tray, which is slightly smaller than what the recipe says, and we think that might play a key role later on when we find out what actually happens. But then we're going to pour in the mixture into the greased tin, and then we're going to move on to step 2. Step 2, bake the brownies at 180 degrees for 20 to 25 minutes.
May the odds be ever in your favour.
Then remove it from the oven and leave it to cool because remember it is still piping hot. And here is where the drama started to happen. The next bit should have been to cut up the big chunk of brownie into the small little pieces of brownie. And unfortunately, look at the middle. Just look at the middle. Are you seeing this, PurpleCookies? It is just completely and utterly raw. It's not even cooked. It's not even baked. The edges are fine, but it just didn't work. But I think it's probably down to one of 2 reasons, or it could even be both of those reasons at the same time. The tin we used is slightly smaller than the one that was suggested in the recipe. So perhaps because all of that mixture is condensed into a smaller space, the cooking times or baking times are completely different to what the recipe says. The other one is maybe the actual temperature was too high for this mixture, because when you have a temperature that's too high, it cooks the outside, but it doesn't cook in the middle, it doesn't cook evenly. So perhaps that had a play in it as well. Perhaps it was both of these things at the same time. But obviously this is a failed batch of brownies. No words. It is a real shame though, because on some of the edges of the brownies, they do look like a really nice batch of brownies. It's just the middle, which is completely runny. It's still the mixture. I don't understand what happened. It's just a real shame.
What's that?
A brownie batch has fallen. To be fair, it's actually quite strange as well, brownies, because they're called brownies just because of their colour. It's like an orange is called an orange because it's an orange. It's just, it's one of those things. It's like you couldn't be more creative than just naming it after the colour that it is. But as I said, this is called try baking something, and unfortunately this one failed. Didn't it, PurpleCookies? Mm-hmm. But the only thing we can do now is just keep moving forward and move on to the next instalment of the month of the cookie. But in the meantime, you can do what you want with this video. You can like it.
You can share it.
Or you can volunteer as tribute.
Next time on Cup of Adventure.